Doc.
Yes, sir. Grass, how are you doing?
Very well.
It's been very long, eh? We've all been very busy. That's how the world has turned into.
You see,
Everyone is very busy running
How
around.
have you been coping? Though the COVID is not gone.
Yeah. It's not easy. You know, the COVID has really disturbed almost all businesses, but especially some of us in events and all that. You know, I was speaking to a classical soloist, international classical soloist yesterday, a soprano. She lives in the UK, and she was telling me that the COVID times have made things very hard for them because that was where they were getting all their revenues and all that. You know, even in this part of the world, it's not very serious. So some of us are still working, but I know that God Himself will take us through. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so let's just move straight
For
into
sure.
the discussion. Now, today we're just looking at the person, Dr. Addaquay. I mean, growing up, how was it like growing up into music? Your family, your childhood, how did it all begin?
Yeah, in fact, you know, I always say that I was lucky to hear good music from the beginning of my career as a musician. You know, I was in a cathedral, the cathedral, Wesley Cathedral, you know, Methodist Church in Kumasi, Edum. You know, at that time we had wonderful musicians, you know, like Rasapa, yes, Philip Osakutu. We had Nana Buedu. We had fantastic, you know, organists. And learning from them and also listening to them was somewhat a privilege for me, you know. There was a good choir. They were singing good songs. So from the beginning of my career, I got the chance to listen to good music. And I think that I don't have to take for granted because if I had ended up in a certain society where the organist is even struggling and music is not, you know, in my church, music was very attractive. I mean, the choir was very serious with what they were doing. They were proud to be choristers. You know, at that time, people were very proud to say, I'm a chorister. He's the choir master.
They took their singing very seriously.
Very serious, you know. So it made me also take mine serious, you know. And of course, I was part of the junior choir. And in the junior choir, we learned a lot of classicals and all that. And that is how I built myself as a musician. Nevertheless, that was what I knew in music as at that time. But when I started serious music, as in academic music, from the secondary school to the university up to the PhD level, then I realized that music moves beyond just the choral music, you know. And I even realized that harmony moves beyond what we know as very sweet and all that. I also realized that music is not always as sweet and as lovely and all that as we think. You know, we have serious music where you have to analyze the decibels, you have to, so I realized that academic music is very different from what we know. In even what we know, the kind of things that can go into it to become excellent is something that I think all musicians must have that privilege to learn, you know. So I think that from childhood, because one, my mother was a chorister, two, there was a good choir and good organists, and I learned from. In the secondary school, I learned under Mr. Peter Light Kumsin, you know, who later became the DCE of Ejumako Circuit, you know, and then and of course, yes, to the university. So thanks to all my professors that shaped me to become who I am today.
Wow, wonderful.
Yeah. One thing is that as I was growing, as I told you, I realized that music is not what I see. Now, when I was young, I always thought Handel, what I knew was Handel. And I thought Handel was the best, you know, composer in the whole of the world, you know. So yes, internationally he's the most popular and very popular. But not knowing, even in the academia, most of the exercises and most of the examples we were given were not Handel's examples. You know, when we want to talk about good melodies, construction of melodies, we mention Mozart. When we want to talk about good fugue or counterpoints, which I thought Handel was doing, then we'll talk about Bach. Then when we talk about symphonies, then we'll talk about another person, you know. So I realized that what is so special about these guys. So when I started understudying the compositions of other masters, I realized that music moves beyond that. Even in 20th century, I know we had Schoenberg, Webern, coming down to the 21st century and what the experiments and what is happening in the world, I realized that there's more to do. So now, it is very difficult for me to mention one person I look up to, because depending on what I want. Because you see, in school, for instance, I met a lecturer, Dr. Kungo, of blessed memory, whom I dedicated my PhD thesis to, He came to teach us only 20th century. Hey, in 20th century music, at that time, we hadn't heard it. Now, we were going to listen to music that is not very sweet, music that we can even be playing, blowing the horns of a car with different sounds and analyzing how the different sounds are making effects, talking about water flowing here and there, and then clapping. So I realized that it means all sounds are considered as music. You understand my point? So what I mean is that, so when it comes to 20th century, for instance, I have who I look up to. Even in 20th century music, depending on the kind of technique I want to use, And when it comes to playing, if it's organ, I know who I look up to. If it's piano, who I look up to. And if it's singing, if it's tenor, I know. So even in that area, I just don't look up to one person. So I ended up looking up to so many mentors. And don't forget that even beginners could be an inspiration. I could just look at a beginner and looking at what I want. It becomes an inspiration that then can't I train this guy to be like this guy that is playing this and doing this and doing this. So I think that it has broadened my mind, So there is a very tall list, that I'll give to you later on.
Sure. Okay, so then how did it all feel? Running through all these experiences, going through the mill of studying, playing, performing, and all that. At the point where you were handed over your certificate as a doctor in music, how did it all feel?
I felt like heaven on earth, because I was never dreaming of that. I knew I'll become a great musician. Even from childhood, all my mates will tell you that I used to tell them I'll be a great musician. Jokingly, I'll be like, and all that. But I never knew that I would be an academic musician as well, So something like being a doctor in music was not something I really dreamt of. But then, after my first degree, I decided to move on and on and on. Now, you see, let me tell you, even with my PhD, it wasn't easy for me at all. My proposal was rejected about 3 times to 4 times.
You mean like before the entry?
Not before the entry. I entered.
You had to bring up a proposal.
Yeah, after your coursework. Okay. Your coursework.
You were in there already?
Oh, I was in there already. But your proposal, your thesis proposal, what you want to write on. You understand? So, and when my proposal was rejected, my mates were accepted. And they kept telling me it's not up to the standard. And University of Cape Coast and their standards, So, in fact, it got to a time I even gave up. I almost gave up, And then, yes, I almost gave up. But then my wife told me, she told me on the bed that these things happen. They are normal. People go through. They may not tell you. People are going through. These things are normal. So, don't worry, That was a very big encouragement to me, actually, And then I had 1 or 2 friends also encouraging me. But of course, it's the biggest of the encouragement came from my wife, And then finally it was accepted, And then I asked myself how this thesis is going to work. And surprisingly, by the grace of God, it worked. And I was able to finish within the time limit, which is not very usual, things that PhD that people spend 8 years, 9 years, 7 years. Within 3 years, I was able to do it. And I can say that it's by the grace of God, And then, of course, and hard work as well, because I was not sleeping, always on my thesis here and there. Now, I didn't really, it was so big for me. So even at the time where it went in for marking, I was still doubting whether I will pass or not. Because, though I knew I had done a good work, but because of the trauma I went through during my proposal, I was still skeptical about the results. So when I meet anyone, even including the professors, and I tell them my work is out for marking, it's going to the external and internal, then they'll be like, hallelujah. But I didn't see any hallelujah in this. Then the work came. And when I heard the work came, they were like, wow, it has come, hallelujah. I looked at the corrections we had to do. And then I had to defend. And with the defense too, people saw my posts, that I'm about to defend. And people were like, congratulations. I was like, I haven't defended yet. So I have a certain friend called Patrick. He used to tell me that, now I didn't cry, still, because I saw it too big to be true. Okay. After defense, I passed. Actually, everybody was very glad. Trust me, my defense was fantastic.
How was it? Was it like a war? The world against Adaquay? Or like how was it? How
my defense, my thesis? Yeah, because I had to. Expectation for me has always been very high in my department. Because of how I have started. So expectation is always very high for me. So with the defense, for instance, I knew that I had to leave something that any normal student can just do and pass. For me, I have to make sure I prove myself to the highest level before I pass. And I understand them, because looking at, as you were coming here, for instance, your expectation was very high. Yeah. Something a normal musician will do and you'll be impressed. Maybe I will do it and you'll be like, no, Adaquay must do more. The next time you come here, you would like to see some improvement in what I have done. You understand? Because the expectation is always high and high and high, exactly. But then I went through. Everyone was very happy. Yet I was still not satisfied until I got the certificate. And even when I was going for the certificate, because it was the COVID era, I thought there wouldn't be graduation. You understand? So my wife told me that then, because there wouldn't be graduation, why don't we go together with the whole of the family to Cape Coast? After receiving the certificate, we celebrate there and come back. And I told her, no, my certificate is not in. I don't know, maybe. Meanwhile, they had called me, the certificate is in. But I told them, maybe I may go there. And I was still, so when I received it, in fact, there was tears of joy. I almost collapsed. And
really?
for a while, I was still doubting whether I am a doctor, So when people call me doctor, at times I ask myself, am I the one being referred to as? But after a certain period of time, I've been very ambitious when it comes to music. After a certain period of time, the doctor became so normal to me, and I realized that no, I must move beyond the doctor. So as I sit here now, the doctor is very, very small for me, because I feel that in the academia, if I really want to move to the academia, which I'm moving into because I'm a lecturer now, then you have to move to the highest level, not just an associate professor, but a professor.
All right, talking about that, you are a lecturer now.
Yeah.
Can you just, talk to us about
I just received my appointment as a lecturer in the University of Ghana, Department of Music. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. When that one also came, there was tears of joy.
Wow.
Because, as I mentioned, this is not something that I thought I would be. I always thought that I'll perform music and then people will keep clapping for me and all that, But for the academic side of it too, I felt personally that it's a big achievement that I mustn't joke with. But then it goes with hard work.
Yeah.
You understand?
Huge responsibility.
Exactly. Because I always ask myself that, okay, let's take it that I'm a professor. Am I going to be a normal professor who is not even known for his publications and just in the university and being known as a professor and drinking tea each and every morning? Or I'm going to be a professor who has made impact with this article. And that is also a big challenge to me, because I always feel that whatever you do, you try as much as possible to get to the top. Yes.
Of course. How do you combine your responsibility as a whole? at home, as a husband, as a father,
Yeah.
to what you do?
Actually, I always advise fathers whenever I get a chance, or whenever some fathers come to me for advice, in terms of what to do in marriage and all that. I always tell them that there is difference between a head of family and a father. You understand? What makes you a head of family might not necessarily make you a father. And what makes you a father may not necessarily make you a head of family. You need to combine the two. And it's not easy. The head of family, as a head of family, you are to provide for the family. You understand? That's what makes you the head. Head means you are providing. And then apart from that, you also make sure you protect the name of your family. Your family will have a place to stay. So all those things are duties of a head of family. But if you're a good head of family, it doesn't mean you're a good father. Because being a father to your kids and to your wife is also your connection with them. They being able to tell you whatever their problems, how you can be close to them, and all that, to share memories and have time for your family. That is what makes you a father. So if you are a good father, it doesn't also mean you are a head of family, because you may be close to your kids and all that, but not a head of family. So combining the two, as a head of family, yes, I would say yes, I am doing well. As a father, I am trying my best, because of my busy schedule. At times I don't really get time, for the family. But any little chance I get, I make sure I spend it well with my family. Even when I'm in the house, I'm still working. As of now, I'm working on some articles and journals that I want to publish soon. And yesterday, for instance, my last born, a 2-year-old girl, then she wanted to come close to me, but I was still working, so I couldn't. Then the mom was like, "Hey, leave Daddy alone." At some point, she came and was like, "Daddy, why?" And just that exactly. So I had to stop my working. So I mean that it hasn't been easy, but I have a good wife that supports and makes sure that she feels in for me, and I don't have to take that one for granted. Yes.
In this modern day and age, how would you describe who a musician is?
Personally, in my opinion, I can be wrong, but in my opinion, I feel that one of the problems we have in this country, generally, is the definitions. Okay, definitions of almost a lot of things. Okay, who is a doctor? Who is an actor, especially in the arts? Or who is we have very wrong perception, even as in who is a good president. We don't know. Or now, if I say even good, who is a leader? Our perception of who someone must be or what a profession must be is very wrong. And it is the reason why at times we are not growing as a country, because we have few people doing greater things. Because in every field, we always want to recognize very few people in an industry. And we take it that those few people are the ones working. And therefore, it discourages others from working, But they don't know that even those few people they rely on may not even be the best. Why am I saying that? When you are a musician, let me tell you, for instance, when you step out right now and someone describes you as a musician to someone, the first question he will ask, no, your friend is saying, what is the name of that person? As soon as they start asking those questions, then it means they want, it's either they want an opportunity to give you a respect or disrespect you. So when they mention your name, the person will be like that, maintain it, because they think that a musician is someone who is heard over all over the world, which is not true. Who is an actor? The person will mention Van Vika or Leo Wayne, and the others will be exactly, So can you imagine? Let me go straight to the point. Can you imagine? I heard a movie director saying it was the Santos time, and it came to Jaco's time. Now it's Lewin's time. Now it's because we always want to use one person to stand in for everybody. You understand? And therefore, when someone is an actor, someone may be an actor who decides to act only on stage. Maybe there is a drama somewhere, whether National Theatre or anywhere, and that is where he feels he's good at. But because he's not seen as an actor, the career may die within very, very quick. You understand my point? Yeah. Lastly, someone may be a medical doctor because he doesn't perform surgeries, or he's not the one that performed that heart surgery that made him popular and all that. We disregard all of them. Meanwhile, he may be a very good malaria doctor. What I mean is that we must respect people in their field of work. You understand? Therefore, a musician is someone that performs music. Though in the academia, musicologists and music educationists and others are not really recognized as musicians because they write about music. They don't perform music.
Okay, so now let me ask this. I know you to be a Methodist.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
With this narration that you have drawn from the Beethoven story, would you say that you are more sort of inspired by this, how do you call it, Beethoven and his way of life to really be informed on how you, comport yourself or carry yourself about, in that you are more of a freelance than a church person or a church musician?
Yes and no. Beethoven will continue to be Beethoven, and I'm Adaquay. Yeah, so.
But I don't play in the church anymore.
Yeah. I started as a church musician, so I still have relationship with my God as a Christian. Okay. As I speak to you now, my society is Bethany Methodists. But I do not get time to...
Bethany, you mean?
Jowulu, yes.
Okay.
But there is an organist there. I'm not the organist, because I don't
but
get
you fellowship there.
I fellowship anytime I have the time, yes, but I'm not an organist there. Okay, so I will say that, yes, because, at times, the truth is, some of these truths, if you don't take care and you don't get me well, and if you don't really... listen to me carefully, you may think that I'm trying to discourage all musicians in the church to move out and become freelance musicians. Not every musician is supposed to be freelance. Trust me on that. Because it takes a certain strength and it takes a certain level of grace and a certain level of performance to be a freelance. Because I know a lot of church musicians who broke away to become freelance musicians and they were not successful.
Well.
Yes. It never ended well with them. So before you take that decision, you must know that you can really deliver. Who is a freelance musician? A freelance musician is an extraordinary performer who is invited at any function to be able to turn the function around. Trust me. Because if you are a musician and you are invited to a function and you are not the type that can turn a function around, don't start seeing yourself as a freelance musician. If I say turning a program around, for instance, someone's wedding, or it can even be a church service, and then you are invited to come and perform, and you stand there to perform, and you perform in such a way that you become a talk after the whole function. If you haven't reached that level and you try to be a freelance musician, you'll be in trouble.
So do you have to get to that level before
you have to get to that level?
You can be, or you can start freelancing and then through that develop into that level.
That is why I'm saying that. You see, if you don't take care, even at the stage of developing, you can, because me, you see, I started freelancing. I didn't start it straight away, as you see me. When I was even a choir master, I was still freelancing. Until I got to a stage that I felt I can be on my own. Okay? Because to me, I feel that when you have extraordinary talent, when God gives you extraordinary grace, you don't have to be at one place. Trust me, even the reverend ministers, they know. They don't want to tell you. Okay? Most reverend ministers met me and told me that straight away, that where you are, you mustn't be limited to a church. Imagine if we had all these, I'm just going straight to the point, if we had all these Archbishop Duncan Williams and Pastor Mensa Table and Adaquay One, if we had them still in the Anglican church and the Methodist churches and the Pentecost churches, do you think we would have seen them grow the way they have grown?
Well, that is quite debatable.
It is, but it is not. Because when you are within a confinement, when you are in an Orthodox church, you may not be able, in those days, some Orthodox churches were not even allowing a lot of prayer camps and miracles and all that. So if you have that grace to perform extraordinary miracles, and you are within that church, one, you are not the superintendent minister. Two, you are not the one in charge of the church. So at the end of the day, you can be given a small space to do what you want to do. But because of your extraordinary grace, you have to break away and form your own church. And then that is how God can use you to bring in other branches. And God wants us, let me tell you, when God gives us talents, He doesn't want us to just give the talent to a specific group of people. He wants the whole world to benefit from our talents. But there are some people who are also created. You see, as I'm saying, if you don't take care, there are some people who are also created to be in the church, but they can also be freelancing alongside. So you don't become disappointed.
I did not cut you short.
No problem.
See, when you look at a church like the Methodist, there are laid down procedures, there are laid down definitions in the church where if you are an organist or if you are a minister, you have that, or you don't have the leverage to move out to wherever you want to. Your space is the Methodist church. Probably, maybe you might be invited to another Methodist church. But in the case of the organist or the musician in the church, you are not supposed to move anywhere, especially when the church needs you. You are confined in that space. Now, if you use the example of the Dags, the Otables, you don't see them, go there where they are now. That's where they've been. So why are we talking about expanding our territories? Because once they found themselves in the church they are now, they haven't gone anywhere again.
Yes.
So is it the environment that we are in, or is the fact that we have to move around?
Adaquay Mills can be invited to any other, or Archbishop Duncan Williams can be invited to any other charismatic church apart from Action to go and perform.
But the Methodist
to have a crusade, exactly. The organists can also do so. The organists in the church can also do so. But you see, there is a question you asked, which is very important and significant. You asked me whether you need to get to a level before, or you can start you can start from somewhere. Every big dream starts from somewhere. So if only you have that strength to start from somewhere and stand the mockery, and stand the disrespect, and you're able to stand all the test of times, then you gradually get there. Because when we all started freelancing, we were cursed. When Winneba Youth Choir moved out of the church, they were cursed.
No, you see, the Winneba issue, you would say that probably it was out of how would you say, lack of the respect for authority. That is the argument we've all been hearing, that they were supposed to submit to the authority.
Listen, I understand you, but listen, I am looking on the side of, I am talking as a musician, okay? I am talking as an art musician. I'm not talking as a church musician. So, clear the difference very, very well. If I was talking as a church, then I would be talking about submitting to authority and all that. I am talking as an art musician. And as an art musician, what I know is that if you are extraordinary in what you do, you have to break away and do what is best for you.
So you support breaking away?
Yes, I support breaking away. Because Vocal Essence Choral couldn't have reached where they are if they were still with Dansuman Youth Choir. No, I mean, at times breaking away gives you the chance to see other opportunities. Okay, so if you are a choir, listen, every extraordinary person, listen to this clearly, every extraordinary person in a field has problem with society. Do you know why? Because the way the extraordinary person thinks and the way the extraordinary person behaves is not like how the ordinary person behaves. So most societies have problems with extraordinary people. You listen. So when you are in a church and you are extraordinary in any gifts of yours, whether tithing or what, because you are extraordinary, the church may not necessarily understand you because most of the people in the church may be very ordinary in thinking in your area, in your field. Not if I say they are ordinary, I'm not saying they may be extraordinary in their various fields, but in your field of work, they may be very ordinary. So the way they expect you to operate, they may think you are not submitting to authority. Because no extraordinary and talented person submits to authority easily. I'm telling you for a fact. Okay. So every person that goes beyond that, feels that he needs the chance he needs the freedom. And when the person gets that freedom, when Winneba Youth Choir got that freedom, they became the favorites, the nation's most favorite choir.
Okay, so let me say, now when we are talking about submitting to authority.
Yes. And today, through Winneba Youth Choir, we have produced all these choirs.
Did you get to a point where you had to suffer that submission? The fact that you have to break away into freelancing. Did you get to a point that you were forced to submit, that you get to a point now, I mean, where I am, I cannot force myself under authority?
It was very clear. It was very clear and obvious. In fact, even in the church in which I was.
Where exactly?
I mean, I've been to many churches, including Bethel Methodist Church, where I was a choir master. Okay. You know, I understood when I broke away. Then I understood the church. One of the problems, generally, one of the problems they had with me was my demand for good sound in the church. Yes, I was always demanding good sound. I was always on them. But you see, and two, my different styles, my dynamics, my volumes, and all that, it was too much for them at some point. You listen. And even my choir, my training, the training I was giving to them, it was too much for them. It got to a time it was stressing them. They were thinking, I am asking them to do too much. Because listen, in my field, I feel that I am an extraordinary musician.
So they have to do things.
So you have to do, if you want to match up to my level, then you have to move to that extraordinary. It was being too much for them. I quite remember there was an anniversary that they asked me to bring a psychologist to come and talk, not knowing the psychologist was coming to talk about stress. As in, when they are stressed, so then they started, when the choir master does this, it stresses us. So it was too much for them. So even they, you listen, they realized that I was too much. But when I got out of the church, you listen, I realized that yes, it was true. I was not able to submit to the authority that much because one, you are asking them to provide sound. Do you know how much they have in their coffers as a church? Do you know their plan as a church? You don't know. Do you know their budget? You don't know. You went in, you felt their sound is not good, and because of your music, they should sacrifice everything and stop it and come and buy sound just for you to enjoy music. Meanwhile, the music was also bringing people in the church. When I was a choir master, the church became the biggest church in the Methodist Church. Trust me. Really? The biggest church with the biggest congregation. Because people were, it was like a concert. You understand? So, because of that expectation being high, when some of the equipment started dropping, it was a worry to me. You understand? And two, listen, the church choir, we could move around and perform oratorios and all that. You understand? I also feeling that because it's my church choir, the standards must be high. You listen, and the church choir too, I understood them. Because when I moved out, I asked myself, someone has come to the church to worship his God and to join the church choir. He hasn't told you he wants to perform professionally. If he wants to perform as a professional, he would have been a freelancer. He is in the church just to perform something small for the church to be able to. Yeah. And you are also thinking to that level. And don't forget, we are not in London for them to be performing like the King's College Choir. Yeah. So your levels, because I know that choirs only, the times choirs are recognized are during competitions. So me, the things that choirs will do for their competitions, that is what I will teach, and even teach more and expect them to perform that on Sunday. If I was to be a normal chorister, it would have been a problem to me. So I realized that it means it's either I was the problem or they were the problem. But the fact that I had to break away. And when I broke away, that was my turnover as a musician.
Did you get the comment that
yes,
Adaquay, you are too known? Like
every extraordinary person hears that. You are too bossy. Yes, every extraordinary person at some point hears that. In fact, if you are very good in your field of work and you don't hear words like you are too known, you are bossy, you think you are the best, it means you are not good. Trust me on what I'm telling you. Or it means you have a different character. From history, all the musicians from back to what? They were all portrayed as proud. You understand my point? At times, people don't understand musicians. When musicians are behaving in a particular way, at times people don't understand them because the way the extraordinary musician thinks is very different from how the normal person thinks. You see, but as time goes on, you grow. Now me, I have grown. So some of the things that I was doing, that I was being portrayed as proud and all that, I have grown. I have stopped.
Did you hear them?
Oh, a lot.
Did they speak them in your face, or you heard them as rumors?
Oh, I heard them as rumors because coming to speak them in my face was very difficult for them, okay. Because probably they even knew that what they were coming to say
wasn't even true.
Even if it's not, it may not make sense to me. You understand? Because before you tell someone he's proud, you are in a church. You are supposed to pay a musician after rendering a certain service. And that was the agreement that, you come and start performing. As you perform and time goes on, we'll pay you. The person is now in the church for more than a year, 2 years. You are not paying him. He talks about it. And because you want to have your way, you say he's proud. and you see, Ghanaians too, at times, as soon as they hear someone is proud, they won't even find out why they are saying that. Every time someone will quarrel with a musician about pride, about 80% of the times, it's about money. So if the problem is money, why don't you give the money to the musician?
We'll be talking about the musician and the money soon.
Exactly.
Before then, the church musician,
for sure,
and then the art musician, as we are talking about, by these categories, how do you think they should be treated, or the level of respect that should be given to them? In your case, you are a church musician who had a certain level of expectation, and it didn't really go down well with them because the expectation was too high. How do you think we should see them? How is the measuring supposed to be? How should we measure the church musician, the choir master, the organist, as against that one, the arts music that is doing it outside?
Thank you. That's an excellent question. You see, there are stratifications in life. That's one thing I also want musicians to know. There's one thing that most musicians don't know. We compare ourselves unnecessarily. A musician in Ghana will be like, when you go outside there, the respect they give to organists. You can't talk like that. Because you may not know the structures they have put in place outside there. And even outside there, there are still churches that disrespect musicians. But you see, one thing is that I feel that a church musician must be recognized, if not each and every Sunday, all functions. So, for instance, if we have a function, whether it being an induction service or a conference or what, during the announcement, after mentioning that the person that preached today is very Reverend so and so, The organist for the function is so and so. The conductor has been this. Even it is not bad that every Sunday, when you are watching when you watch the royal wedding, you realize that as part of their announcements, they mention today we have the orchestra, this, on the organ, this person, the choir, this. In Ghana, they will never acknowledge the choir and the organists because some of the reverend ministers are afraid of musicians because they know how powerful music is. And because they are more powerful than musicians, because they are also believe that whatever they say comes straight from God. So when a reverend minister says this musician is proud or musicians mustn't be recognized, immediately everyone takes it. So musicians have always been, the face of musicians have always been the bad ones, even when there are good ones, you understand? But despite all things, with the question, I still feel that not all musicians may have that recognition because of one or two problems here and there, you understand? Because if you are a musician in a church, let's take it that you are a beginner. The church trained you. So you are now learning how to play. So you are even using the church's, you are standing on the church's shoulder to play. It means that you haven't reached the stage where we recognize you in a particular way. You understand? Because you are a beginner. So the way we will recognize organist B may not be like you. You understand? There are stratifications in it. And the recognition, no matter what, money will still come to bear. Money that is given to this person in this church may be different from yours because you may not even know the structures and where he started, his duties and all that. You understand? So because there are levels, we may not be able to have a certain structure, but for recognition, as in mentioning today on the organ, we have this, whether he's a beginner or what. Once he is the one that is in charge, he must be recognized.
Do you think the secular or for want of a better, the secular musician is more respected than the church musician?
Yes, because, yes, of course, yes.
In what perspective?
Because the church musician is limited to only the church.
So is whose fault? Is it the consumers of the music or the musicians themselves who are producing the music?
No. You see, there is nobody at fault. Let me explain to you why I'm saying there is nobody at fault. Let's say I have a Methodist church here. Okay, that is my Methodist church. Or let's say my own church I have built. I'm a charismatic pastor. I tell you to come and be my organist in such a way that I'll pay you. I don't expect to see you going around when there is church service because you are the only one playing the organ and you are the one I've trusted. And even I've given you that position as the organist being recognized by the church. And I can't expect that there is church service and you are somewhere playing in the name of, don't you see Adaquay also does freelance and that is how he, no. If you know you can't submit and if you know you can't do the work, then don't even go for it at all. That's why I'm saying, if you do not take care, so no one is at fault. So the secular musician is more respected because he is everywhere. He is known. And the power of a musician is your popularity. One of the power of every musician. But it doesn't mean all musicians must be popular. I'm not saying all musicians must be popular. What I'm trying to say is that give respect to everyone according to his level. But in Ghana, we think that, let me give you an example. In Ghana, the secular musicians are so much highly respected than any other, which is not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be at all. When you travel to anywhere in the world, though we have the Beyoncés and Jay-Z's and all that, but they still don't underrate the classical musicians. They don't underrate their top orchestras. They are country musicians, they are Afro-pop musicians, they are jazz musicians.
But don't you think it's also amounts to the fact that the amount of work put in, the quality of work?
No.
Look at the secular musicians and you compare to this.
It's not the quality of work because Mozart's quality of work was very high, but he was not respected at that time. Not one bit. Mozart was treated like a trash. In fact, it got to a time they even wished he would just compose for them, but he will not even come on stage to perform with them because he doesn't even look good. He's a poor guy. He was never respected and he was never honored because at that time, there were no structures. So, you see, the media, I'm talking about the traditional media, the radio stations, they are obliged to play Ghanaian music. But the only difference is that they have to fall on the popular ones. So once you are, because that structure is there, they are forced to play something Ghanaian. They play, so that structure has already been there. Now when they are going to invite an artist, they know that for artists, you have to give them this amount. At first, it wasn't like that. You listen, at first it wasn't like that. But they had to, some people had to fight and make sure those structures. So now for secular music, it has been accepted that when they are coming, they must be paid. When they are coming, this is. So it is not wrong for others to also put structures. When there are structures, okay, my work, for instance, there is structure. You know when you are coming for Adaquay, there is no way Adaquay is coming to do it for free. Unless you don't know me and you are still seeing me as a that church musician or that church choir master who is just coming to play. You are a patron and he's coming to play for you and he goes away. But you know that it is business and it's a structure. So when you contact us, you know it is structure. So even the first question they will ask is how much is it like? So I think that it is the structure. Mm-hmm. You listen, that is making the secular musicians, a little bit superior over us. But our own, no, my problem is that the way they underrate the other, because for the media and all that, they know nothing about what is happening in art music.
Don't you think the church itself,
yes,
like the church is the main stakeholder of the church musicians' music, but this underrating of the musician in the church, is it not coming from the church itself? Because if the church men, it's coming from the musician.
If
they held the music from the church person, the church musician, I mean, nobody would come into this.
Listen, let me tell you one thing. Okay, there's one thing that I want to say. As much as I talk, you can disagree. No, anyone listening can disagree. But I'm telling you my opinion. Whatever I say here is my opinion. Exactly. Let me tell you, in this world, one thing you have to put in mind is that whenever you are working with anybody, the person's interest is his first priority. We are all selfish. You sitting there, Krasata, you are selfish. I am also selfish. We are all selfish in one way or the other. Though at times we try to control ourselves. Everybody is selfish, but it's the way you control it. So let me tell you, if you tell me reverend ministers are selfish because they think about themselves, they have been able to put structures in such a way that now they are supposed to be paid a certain amount. They are supposed to be given this. Even in their own field, not all of them have good mission houses and all that. Yet the structure is there because it is them. They are thinking about how they can make their work go on. So if you are a musician and you think that the church must come and think for you, then you are making a big mistake. So the problem is not coming from anybody, but from the musicians. Okay. Because the musicians fear every day he's sleeping is that nobody should come and be better than me. Listen, someone is coming to the church. Maybe when the person comes to play better than me, the people will say, or when I teach the choir, they don't respond. Only when this choir master comes to teach them, then the choir is resolved. Those things are, though, as much as that competition is your burden, which I understand, because when someone already you are not recognized, I know, it's because you are not recognized. You are not even respected for what you do already. And if they see someone better than you, then you are doomed because there are no structures. It's because there are no structures. But listen, you are a church musician. Maybe you are in Methodist. You think you are waiting for GAMEC to come and put your structures for you. GAMEC is also, if I say GAMEC, the National Methodist, they are also thinking about how they can put structures for GAMEC, not for you, your society. They haven't gotten there yet. So you are in your society. You know there are problems A, B, and C, and D. You have to take decisions to make sure that now how do you do it? You think you can do it on your own? It's a very big mistake, because you are not the church. You work with executives in a choir. You work under a certain body. So to be able to even buy into your idea, you have to also let the executives of the choir know that you also have their interest. So you tell them for the benefit of the church music, or for the benefit of the choir and the growth of the choir, so and so must be done. But it must be documented. Because if it is not documented and we talk with our mouths, it won't even work. That is how come you are an organist and you go to a church, the church decides to give you a certain amount. And then at a certain point, more than 5 years, there is no increment. Because there is no documentation that after every a certain period of time, there is increment, or when there is no structure. And when there is no structure, don't expect things to be structured. And nobody will do that for you. And lastly, people think you must be a great musician before you accomplish it. You don't need to be an extraordinary musician. Structures are put in all companies, in all places, because of monitoring system. That is the point. Yeah. I don't know whether your question has been answered.
Oh yeah. To a large extent, I think we are getting there.
Yeah.
It's a one-on-one with Dr. Patrick Alfred Addaquay. Now we are talking about the church musician and money. This is a very crucial place when it comes to, spirituality of the musician. It's as though when we are talking about the business side of the craft, the skill, when the musician is putting all that he knows, and then the aspect of business, the aspect of money comes in, it's as though the spirituality of the person is lowered, or you don't even have it at all. Now, how do we manage the church musician and money? The myth around it, the misconceptions and all that. Let's talk about the musician and the money in the church.
Okay. I will still back on that old point that there are stratifications in life. If you do not get to understand it, you will make a big mistake. So don't expect all church musicians to receive a specific amount. Someone told me that we must form a church musicians group so that we get a fixed amount for all musicians. You are joking. That village church in Kokorobo, they don't have that money to give to that your organist. So even if you form that, but okay, now let me tell you one thing. Nevertheless, we still have organists and musicians who think that they are working from their hearts for God and they don't want to take money. You can't do anything about it, because for them that is their personal belief. And once it is their personal belief, even if the church decides to give to them, they will not take it. There are some musicians too who believe that whatever the church gives them, they are okay, because the church helped them in one way or the other. Such musicians too, you can't force them and say, you are the reason why. You see, at times we blame them. You are the reason why. At times, some of us, we want to take money, but someone will just go and do it without taking any money, and those are the people spoiling the job. They are not spoiling any job. You think you have the exposure, you are okay. He also feels that he doesn't have the exposure, he needs the exposure, and therefore it's not the money he needs.
But
so even if he plays for free,
musician be paid in the church?
That is how concept. That is how the question should have been framed. Then we are talking there. But I'm still saying that the musician must be paid, but there are one or two other reasons why a musician may not be paid. I want to tackle those ones before we move to the musician must be paid, because there are some churches that don't believe in paying musicians. Okay, and that is their constitution, that is their policy. For this church, we don't pay musicians. You can't do anything to them. So if you're a musician and you are in that church, and you later come and be like, no, you must pay me. It is neither here. Yeah, it's either you leave or you stay, because it is their policy. That is one thing. I quite remember a certain reverend minister said that if he doesn't feel the grace of God upon your life as a musician, no matter how you perform, even if you are the best musician in the world, he won't allow you to come and perform on his pulpit. Such a reverend minister, if you go and tell him this is a professional musician, he must be paid, because when you go anywhere, the level of playing, he is looking at the grace of God in your playing. He's not looking at how skillful you are. So every church has its own policy, and every group have their own ways of doing things. So those ones are exceptions. If those exceptions are not there, and few other exceptions that I may not have mentioned, if they are not there, the answer is yes. Every church musician must be paid, and paid well.
Paid well.
Because they are sacrificing their time. You look at me, my example. I'm a member of Bethany Methodist Church. Ask them the last time they saw me in church. They will tell you.
When was the last time?
The last time I went to church, even that one was a professional work I went to do there. So in my own church, more than 6 months, I haven't been able, because almost every Sunday I'm busy. Because I'm busy for something else. You listen, someone will say, then why don't you think about your salvation? Salvation is not only about playing in the church or being in the church. Because when God comes and He is judging us, He will not ask us the church we were. He will ask us the work we did. And so that one is another argument for another day. But so if you tell me because I'm not playing in church or because I don't belong to a church, I am not seeking for salvation, you are wrong. You understand my point? Someone also said, yes, that is why we have transitions, funeral home and all that there. What I mean is that is just by the way. But what I'm trying to say is that, look at I don't get the time to go to church. There is an organist there who is always there, and who is attending all the choir rehearsals and all that. So I may not know what he could have also used this time to do. You understand? So why don't you pay him for spending that time? Why don't you want to pay the organist and pay him well? You understand my point?
So if I get you clearly,
yes.
Addaquay spends his time doing professional things. He could have been in the same church, just like the organist in that same church.
Exactly.
But Addaquay is spending more time to do his, and he's earning. So why don't you pay that guy who is there, who has forfeited that professional?
Thank you. That is it. You understand where I'm coming from? Good. But you see, musicians, one thing is that the way we go about asking for remuneration is very bad. When you're not paid well in the church, address it formally and address it professionally. Don't address it informally. For instance, when you go around telling church members and people that my church doesn't pay me, you are disgracing your church. And when they hear that, they will not even pay you, because already you have disgraced them. So when they even pay you because you are saying that, they may think it's because of the way you talked. At times, you must know how to do things formally. You have executives in the choir. If they are not ready, you have patrons. If they are not ready, that's why you have church leaders. You can put into writing. It must be, you see, musicians must know how to do things in a formal way and present things and document them in a formal way. Now you, the musician too, you listen. At times, musicians compare themselves to the mistake we make. I'm telling you straight to the point, is to never compare yourself to the reverend minister and think you must be paid the same as a reverend minister, because what the argument they make is that the church service is into two forms, the music and the word. So the church minister is doing the word and you are doing the music, so you must be paid the same way. It doesn't work that way. It's not only the word the church minister does. When the church minister is going around giving communions to the old and all that, do you accompany him? No. When he's leading the leaders and all that, do you pay him? No. When they are supposed to go for Methodist church conferences, for them they must go, no matter what. You choir conference, opa. Now the church minister, if he doesn't perform well, the headquarters can transfer him to imprint Mampong
I
after.
think that is the reason why the church music, the church musician is also, should I say, underrated, because the structure for the ministers.
That's why
well
I'm saying that
refined.
the structure is not there. And you see, if I say well refined, no matter what, once the minister, because the minister to listen, the minister is a full-time minister. That's the difference. That all he does is the work of the minister from Monday to Friday. You, the organist, you are also a teacher somewhere.
But probably
you
have people who are musicians.
Fine, but once the structure of the church doesn't even allow you to become a full-time musician. Listen, though the argument the organist can also make, which I will understand to a certain extent, is that what do you mean by full-time? You need me every Sunday. The times I have to perform my duty, you need me every Sunday. Every Sunday I'm there. You need me all crusades, I am there. You need me for all choir rehearsals, I'm there. And you are telling me it's not full-time. Because the times you need me, I'm there. That Monday morning to afternoon that you want me to go and sit in the office, what am I going to sit there to do? I'm not going to, because my own is to provide the music. Then if it is that, the Reverend Minister could have also said that, you need me to come and preach on Sunday, I am there. You need me to go and do that, I'm there. So why do I have to, that Monday, do you know what I'm doing? Because our own has not been structured in such a way that it must be a full-time work as a structure. Because that structure is not there, then of course, we can't have all organists being paid the same. You may have some paid well, some underpaid, some not paid at all, because the structures are not there. Until we start structuring it.
How do we fix this structure?
Thank you. Now, you see, at times, there are two ways this structure can be put in place. The first one, which I believe strongly, is internal structure. Because if you are waiting for external structures, which you don't have now, because there is one thing that is very difficult for musicians to do, for musicians to come together. You see, I'm still researching on that. People think it's because they are proud. It's not like that. Let me tell you, because we are not united and those things. We don't need to be united for anything. You, Krasata, you don't need to be my friend as a musician. You are my brother and friend because, your father is also my father. And we were in one church. That's how come you are my friend. But I can't be friends with all musicians. Listen, friendship doesn't define unity. We can be friends, all right, but we can be hypocrites. You understand where I'm coming from?
But don't you, maybe for the purpose of...
No.
Maybe you will have to come together.
Even that one is worse. When we are friends, it becomes worse.
No, not really being friends, but coming together.
No, that's why
the voice will...
No. Let me explain something to you. That's why last time I also heard in movie industry that there is no togetherness. When you are supposed to work as a musician, your own is to work and go. When we go to choir conferences, what you are supposed to do, you do and you go. You go with your society. If you are performing, you perform. You don't go to choir conferences to go and make friends. So we don't form musicians fraternity to make friends. You listen, I'm coming to a point. I'm saying that it is not because we are not united, that's why we are not able to come together. Because if we are talking about that, every institution, they are not united. Even political parties you see like that, MPP, NDC, they are not united. They are not friends as you think. Some may be in the same party. You are an MPP, I'm MPP, but you may be my enemy. Medical doctors are not that united as we think.
But they have association.
That is it. Nurses are not united. Even tomato sellers also have association. You understand? So you do not need to be united, because for that unity, because of our own selfish gains, we can never be that united. But we must have, but the musician thinks that we must be friends before we become united. No. The unity is just to come with a common goal. You understand? Yeah. And that common goal, is to put structures and make sure one or two things are done. Now, that one is not done yet. And the music unions in Ghana, they are very weak. I must be frank. They are very, very, very weak. So as we are complaining now, even the secular musicians are also complaining because there are no structures. They are very weak unions because of maybe one or two things which can be solved. I think they are very easy to be solved. But aside that, I believe in internal structure. How do you go about it? As I said, you have maybe after a certain rehearsal or in a certain choir executive meeting, you are an organist. You put it to the choir. Executives, I think that I am very glad working with you so far. Our work or the cordial relationship between us have been very excellent, though there are a few challenges here and there, but I know it can be solved. Right now, the music in the church needs to grow. And one of the things that can grow the music in the church is to make sure the musicians are being well taken care of. And as I speak now, I'm not speaking for me, myself. I am speaking for the choir in such a way that even when I am not there, those structures will still be there. And this will become a prestigious group that every musician would like to come to. Because, one, without payment, the musician may not be able to work well. Now, at times when I'm even coming, the fuel and all that becomes difficult for me. So why don't you help me put up a certain structure so that, I will be paid and be able to work for the choir very well. So that even my assistants, whenever we are talking, then we talk for only in ourselves. And my assistants and even people that will come and succeed me. Well, because let me tell you, if we have a record of not paying our musicians well, when I leave, it will be very difficult to get a very quality musician to come. This place must be a place where musicians want to come because you pay well. And apart from the payment, why don't we put structures so and so that every Sunday for procession, it takes this number of minutes. Every Sunday, the choir has to render an anthem. If we think it's a waste of time, maybe they can render an anthem three times in a month. Maybe one Sunday we must do this, and our anthem must take about this number of minutes. Now, when we are singing a hymn, this is how we go about it. This is how we go about even selecting songs for Sunday. You put all those things into writing, and then meet. It's either the leaders. I believe in meeting the leaders than meeting an individual, unless that individual is ready to listen to you. Because maybe that reverend minister doesn't even buy into that your idea. So he will keep on postponing your meetings. But when you write it, then it becomes formal and a serious issue for discussion. The choir executive, some may agree, some, because no matter what, there must be one person that says no, even if 9 out of 10, yes. Oh, but why do you think you must be paid? Then you start giving good examples that even in advanced countries, these are some of the structures they put out. I also need this, I do that, I need this. So why don't we, or you can even start by speaking to few executives that you can confine in, that you want it to be a general thing to be discussed. There must always be a way to go about it. Then how much do you think will be the amount? They must know. If you think it must be a secret thing that you that's why we can't penetrate. Oh no, this amount is too much. Oh no, I don't think it's too much because this and this and this and this. Let's think about it. So you deliberate at the executive level. It may not take you one day. It will take you a period of time before you now even at the leaders level too. It will take, so now afterwards, when it's agreed, you document it and put it there as a structure. So now when another minister comes, that minister can say, no, the organist is paid too much. Or that minister can say, no, I won't allow the choir to sing an anthem.
The structure is there already.
You understand? So before you change it, though it can be amended, no problem. But before you amend it, you must come and speak to executives. So the reverend minister comes, he will even respect that you have structure. If you do not have it, trust me, once the structures are not there, whatever we say here is a waste. We can just say, oh, the musicians must be paid. It's a structure. If you want to be recognized during funerals and weddings and all that, this is our musician. If you want to be recognized, it is part of structure. That's what I'm saying. In advanced countries, there are structures.
So with this whole thing, trying to fix the structures
yes.
of the church begins with the musician himself.
Of course, yes.
And then wherever he or whoever he's with, if it is a church choir or whoever, it begins with himself and then the people he works with at that lower level, and then it moves up to it. Now, let me ask you, see,
at times, depending on where you are, you may be a musician and there may not be a choir there. You have to move it through some patrons there, or some people, some influential, bodies.
That is when
individuals.
you also deserve it. It's not that once you think you are a musician, you
that is where I'm coming from. Oh, but if once you think you're a musician and you deserve it, why don't you deserve it? You don't need to play like Cameroon carpenter before you are being paid.
So who determines
the level
what you deserve?
Exactly. You determine it yourself. But one thing is that, don't forget, listen, if you determine what you deserve and they think you don't deserve it, you can't do anything about it. At times, the problem, I understand, I know, the problem is most musicians may not have a lot of options. You see, in this world, when you don't have options, you become limited. For instance, you are in a certain church, and that is the only church you can play the keyboard in. Other churches don't necessarily need you. And that church decides not to pay you. Or you tell them this is what you deserve, and they are not ready to give to you. If you had other options, probably you would have gone. But because you don't have other options, you still stay. But as you are staying, you are still disturbing them. Pay me. And they are saying you don't deserve it. You understand? And once they think you don't deserve it, trust me, not even Jesus Christ can speak to them. Yes, because they think it. So you must also, as you are also asking for the remuneration, you must know that you must mention what you deserve. That's what I'm saying. There are stratifications. If you do not learn that there are stratifications and you think that because this person is taking so and so, I must also take it. It may even be that you are far better than somebody, but that somebody may be in a better church with better structures. You can't do anything about it. So if you want to get there, then you must also exactly. Yeah.
Okay, now I was trying to draw a scenario here.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the musician and the money, it also has something to do with spirituality of the musician. Now, in the olden days where musicians, you talk about the Davids and those ancient musicians, they did not play for money. So the argument has been that, okay, so now your motive is the money. You have to, fix your mind on the spiritual aspect of the church and forget about money. Help will come. People will take care of you. God works in mysterious ways, So you have to, take your eyes off the money. And then, people will sort you out. God will use people to reach out to you. How do you react to such comments?
He is David, and I am Alfred. In fact, I am Adaquay. Okay? He might have been in Israel. I'm in Ghana. He was in some centuries, and I'm in the 21st century.
But we serve the same God?
We serve the same God, but we are different human beings. That is why David's role, that is why God called David to be a musician and a king. But he didn't call Abraham to be a king. He called Moses to be a leader. And he called Adam to be the first man. He called Jesus to come and die for us. He called Judas to be a disciple. Okay? He called Mary to be the mother of Jesus. He made sure Joseph was Mary's husband, because maybe he knew how he selected Joseph for Mary, because Joseph is the only one that could agree that though my wife is pregnant, but it's not for me, but no problem. Maybe amongst all the men there, he chose Joseph. Everybody is that is why, you see, that's one of the biggest mistakes Christians make. And that is why we have a lot of denominations. in the church. Because this church feels that because so and so didn't do this, then we must all not do this. You understand? For instance, those days there was nothing like insemination or give me your sperms and I'll give birth. Or else probably, I'm sure at that time, Abraham would have given his sperms to Sarah to give birth as at that time. You understand? Mm-hmm. So what I mean is that times keep changing. And God brings everybody on this earth for a specific purpose. So if you go and pick just one character in the Bible, thinking that you must go according to how that character is, that character can be an inspiration to you. You understand? You can learn from that character in many, many ways. But you can't be that character. Let me tell you. Even if you tell me that I must live my life exactly like Christ, I would disagree with you. Because I didn't come to die for our sins.
Come again.
Listen, if you tell me to live my life exactly like Christ, I can't. Because my mission on earth.
But that is why you are a Christian.
No. A Christian, living like Christ, listen, living like Christ doesn't mean I have to come and die for human beings.
No, you can't.
Yes. I can't do that. But living like Christ, listen.
So
does it mean that I must also form disciples?
That is dying like Christ.
No, but he can't. That was his mission. Life. No, that was his mission. His way of life. The mission why he came on earth was to die. So part of his way of life was because of his mission. You understand my point? Now, does it mean I must also form 12 disciples? I can't do that. Maybe I have stomach ulcer. Maybe I have problems with my stomach. I can't fast for 40 days, 40 nights. You don't know the kind of strength God gave to him because of his mission. So you will try 3 days, 3 nights, you may die at some point. Listen, let's face the facts and stop acting hypocritical. Because if we do not do that, we will keep on having a lot of beliefs. I believe that if you say follow the ways of Christ, you must even specify the ways we must follow.
That is in the Bible.
It's in the Bible. Yes, the ways in the Bible. Follow, he was humble and meek. Yes. If you tell me to be humble and meek, it makes sense to me. He was always praying. He was always making sure he does this. Some of his ways, I can follow. Some of his ways, I can't even try for 2 nights. I will die. You understand where I'm coming from? Oh no! Me, I may not be able to stand that crucifixion.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yes. So what I mean is that if David decided at that time, I don't know the situation and the atmosphere at that time that made him play music for free. Today, if I play music for free as my profession, I would, and you can't tell me that, then don't take music as your profession. You are not the one supposed to tell me what to do. You understand where I'm coming from? I have decided that that's what I'll do. And David didn't take money, but I have decided to take money. So if you have problem with me, why do you still invite me? David doesn't take money. Adaquay says he will take money. And you say, then I have problem with Adaquay. So why do you want to come and have, why do you want to invite me? Or why do you want me to work with me? See, so what I mean is that, no, your question, let me answer it well. So the fact that, and let me tell you, whoever tells you that when you are paid, God doesn't bless you, is a very big liar. Whoever tells you that God, there is nowhere in the Bible that God stated that when you are paid for what you, no, he said freely I gave to you, but he didn't say that if you pay, or if he didn't say that if you're a musician and you are being paid, I'll not bless you. Do it for free, and that is where you get my blessings. He didn't specify that. All those things are by men. You know, they are created by men to be able to have their way. And it's fine. If you believe in it, fine. Maybe someone can also give me a lot of quotations linked to the fact that God says we shouldn't be paid. That is it. But what I mean is that the musicians must be paid because of their time, because of the time they are given, and because of their skill and the rehearsal and all that involves in their work and the teaching of songs and all that. They must be paid. But if you tell me it is not spiritual because somebody didn't do it, to me, in this era, it will not make sense to me. Because the person telling you someone didn't do it. So the person's church constitution, most of them are not biblical. Why do we draw church constitutions and at times think beyond the Bible when it comes to times of thinking? Let me give you an example. When the Anglican minister kissed the ladies, we had a problem with them. And one of them was, we are in the times of COVID, apart from the fact that he's an Anglican minister. But God said, or in the Bible, not God, that it said give a holy kiss to, brethren and all that. So under normal circumstances, he was just giving a holy kiss. But this time around, we had to move beyond the Bible because we are in the times of COVID. So probably at the time it was written in the Bible to give holy kiss, there was nothing like COVID.
Yeah.
So if you do not think that the Bible is to give you an idea of the greatness of God and a guide, but it doesn't mean that we are going to look at one character or one or two characters and act like them because this is what. No. But it can serve as a guide and inspiration and all that. So to tell me it is not spiritual to take money, personally, I won't take it.
Personally, my take on this issue, you see, the fact that you'd want Adaquay to stick in this church.
Yeah.
Adaquay is blessed with the
multi-talent.
Yes. So then he comes to the church and the church is okay. We want you to be with us for every Sunday. We want you to sit with our church choir, teach them every Tuesday, every Thursday, every Saturday. We want you to, at the moment there is a church service, there is an evening service, there is a midweek service. We want to see you there. It means that if even we are looking at this as a ministry or as a spiritual exercise where you have to do it for free, then I have to also be able to move around as I want. Because the Reverend Minister can move from even within the same church or the same Methodist church or even within the same vicinity, the Methodist church minister or whoever the minister is has the right to move from one society to another.
But the Methodist church minister doesn't have the right to move to Anglican.
Oh yes, I'm talking about within the same church.
Okay.
So if we have that leverage to move around, why is it that the musician cannot move around? Because you, the church, has asked him to sit down. And once you ask the person to sit down, it means you have committed him. And you have to...
I have my take on that.
Yes. So...
I have my take on that. The church has not asked the musician to sit. You hear me out.
Yeah, because... I'm saying that because...
Yeah.
Now, if you tell the person, you are supposed... once there's an agreement, there's that engagement. It means you
Which
have
agreement?
Oh, I mean...
Agreement without papers.
Okay, so let's say, let's for want of a better word,
yes.
Let's say an engagement. So if there is an engagement, we have engaged you. It means that every Sunday you have to come.
Listen, please listen. Those engagements, to me, they are not formal engagement. They are not professional engagement. Engagements without paper.
Oh, look. So let's even...
No! It will come to my point.
Let's even include the paper.
No. Please listen.
Okay.
Please listen.
No,
please
listen.
listen.
About any form of agreement.
Let me tell you one thing. Why it is so. Let me tell you why. I said engagement without paper. It's no engagement.
I'm using that as an...
I am also using that because... Let me tell you the reason why I'm using that. Okay. You are a musician. At times it's the musician's fault. That's what I'm saying. And at times too, it's the church's fault. You are a musician. You know you want to be moving around once in a while. I don't think if you're a musician and a whole, let's say we have about 40 Sundays in a year. I'm just giving an example. And you attend only 38. Okay, you attend 38 and some too you played somewhere else. I don't think the church will have a problem. You listen to where I'm coming from. Now, it may be that you, the church musician, you are supposed to play every Sunday, but you come only once a month, and it is continuous. Tuesday, you are supposed to come and train the choir for rehearsal. You are not there. Thursday, you are not there. Saturday, you come. Tuesday, you come. The next Thursday, you tell the choir, I will not be able to come, so let's cancel choir rehearsal. Because you are going somewhere. Why? Because you have seen that Addaquay is also, that is how Addaquay. You don't just behave like that. It is irresponsibility. And such a musician if I'm to be in your church and I'm the reverend minister, you will never be paid.
So for what I'm talking about is the fact that, you see, when you engage, that is where it comes in that you are supposed to do this. You are supposed to do this. If a freelancer, a freelance musician decides to be in this church, even if it's not based on invitation, he decides that, oh, today, I'm going to go to church. Oh, my friend's choir anniversary is this Sunday. I can decide to go and help the fellow play. It's part of the worship. But what I mean is that whether it's an engagement with a paper or not, once there's that engagement, even with paper, it means that it is also stated that you are supposed to do this, that. Make sure that you are here at all times. So that is why I'm also saying that once the church does that, then you have committed the person, and you have to honor that commitment.
Is it part of the paper?
Yeah, it's part of the paper.
To honor that commitment?
Oh yes, of course. I mean, there's no way there will be an agreement that
you see, let me tell you one thing. It's true, but it's not always true. Why I keep saying it is, if it is an agreement and it is on paper, then the church has the right to be angry when you don't come for church service in the name of you are playing somewhere. But what I mean is that it being on paper, please listen, your remuneration is also part of the structure or what is on the paper.
Exactly, man.
So that one, it means you have to be there, yes.
So that's why I'm saying that. I'm only buttressing the point that if you engaged a person, I'm looking at where usually they chip in the argument that it is, it's a ministry, it's a spiritual exercise.
No, my point is that, please listen. My point is, if you, the musician, you are not able to argue your way out, and because as I'm saying, everybody is selfish. They're telling you spiritually, it is because they want to keep some money.
They need you there.
They need you there, and they want to save more money. Everybody, if everyone wants to save more money, things to say, I have clients that, after taking money, they'll call and be like, so I'll tell you that, so if you think that, if you think it will not benefit you, then don't call me again. Because it is my work. And I'm working for money. And you think that at times I don't know the benefits I can get from you. I haven't seen the benefits yet. If you want me to see the benefits to get from you, then the benefits must start coming. And I must know how often it will come. Then I know that, you've started making some moves. But you don't just open your mouth and tell me, because that one, it is selfish. Let me tell you, if someone doesn't want to pay you, whatever he will say as an excuse not to pay you, there are many. But you as an individual, because the person is being selfish, thinking about himself. So you must also think about yourself. You as the individual, you must also let them know that, yes, it is true, this and this and this. But I can't come and do this job because so and so. But they will tell you that, that is why we have considered your TNT and giving you probably 100 cedis a month. Then you tell them, if you calculate only my TNT, you are making a big mistake. Because the kind of work I do, during weekends, I'm supposed to be here and here and here, and it will give me this money. I have to stop all those things and come. During Tuesdays in the evening after teaching, I go here and do some gala here, and there. But it gives me this money. So if you just consider my TNT, it will not help me. So as they are also talking from their side, you also talk from they are using the Bible and the spiritual side not to give you money. You can also use the same Bible to say that it got to a time where Elijah was going to a certain widow, and the Lord instructed the widow to give all she has to Elijah. So at times it's not bad to give all you have to me, to the musician, because I don't have this and this and this and this and this. So as they are playing smart, you also play smart. That is where I'm coming from. But if you let their smartness override you because you think they are bigger than you, and you keep quiet, you see, that's what the musicians do. Initial stages, they keep quiet, thinking things will be better. And when things are not better, they start complaining. You understood, and it was in the agreement that this is how much we give to you. Whether we said this and it convinced you, or that is the agreement. And therefore, we expect you to deliver. So my point is that you as the musician, if you think they are still not being convinced and their policies are not going well with you, you have the right to stop. Whether they curse you or not. I mean, when we all moved out of the church and started doing our things, we were okay. Oh, he will see, he will know that, when you move the church, God won't bless. Those things are just, God, has God himself descended down to tell you that if you leave this church, I will not bless you? Has he done that?
Does it happen?
It doesn't even happen. Mostly people even do better. But some people also don't do better. It depends. It may be that that is where God wants to place you. Okay? That is why your relationship with God must be very strong. Because when I was young, I heard all this. I was telling you, I heard all these things about musicians and their love for money and all that. But when I grew up, I realized that musicians were just being cheated in the name of it is a church. But I also realized that, no, because if you're a musician and you feel you are being cheated, you listen, you feel you are being cheated, why are you still there? And why are you still there? You understand? So if you think that is the only place you can be, then you better get proper structures. You have to cut corners to make sure things work for you. You must also think about yourself. I don't know whether it has been answered. Yeah. Until that is done, those kind of engagements, they sit down with you. Me, when I was a choir master, the Reverend Minister just sat down with you. How much will you? Okay, we'll give you. So you just do this. So at times, some of the Sundays I was not going because it was not on paper. You understand my point?
Oh, really?
Oh, but it's not on paper. So, and you see, in my case, I don't know why my case has always been special. In my case, psychologically, even under their subconscious, though they knew, but in my case, under their subconscious, they knew that this guy's talent, we can't enjoy it alone. So at times when I'm out of the church going somewhere, they do not really complain because they knew that, no, this guy, and they knew by all means, he can't be with us forever. Yes, but there are some talents. You must you mustn't do that. Some talents are more than one place. And I'm not also saying that those that are in a church, I'm not underrating church musicians. That's why I'm saying if you don't take care, you may not, you exactly. What I mean is that at times yours is to be in a certain space. Because we have all let me tell you, as I speak to you now, it may be, God can call me again, that no, I want you to play for this particular Methodist church. Don't go anywhere. I want you to build that church's music, whether by payment. If God speaks to me personally in that way, I have to go.
Do you see that coming?
Oh, I don't see that, but I can come because he is God and he can control me. That is the Christianity I'm talking about. Yeah. Christianity is not you forcing me to be in your church to play, whether by who or call, because God has said this, God has said this. You are not God. That is what I'm talking. So those people talking like that, they are not God. That is what you must know. Okay. And you too, you as a musician, you must also have that relationship with God to hear the voice of God, to know that what you are doing is the right thing. Because we needed Winneba Youth Choir at that time. Yeah. So they had to move out of the church. In fact, if they hadn't even sacked them out of the church, God would have punished that church. We needed Winneba Youth Choir to produce harmonious choral for us to enjoy youth choir. Today, look at the numerous choirs Winneba Youth Choir has produced. If I say produced, not necessarily producing directly, but out of inspiration. And we are now enjoying choral music outside the church because at a point in time, maybe God realizes choral music can die in the church, but it must also move to another direction. So we needed Winneba Youth Choir. So if Winneba Youth Choir comes out and they become even bigger than they were in the church, who are you to tell me that God disagreed with the fact that they left the church? You can't tell me that. Yeah. That's what so this kind of, you see, this kind of thinking for God as Christians, I don't know who taught us that. God will not be happy. God says, God says, you see, we think for God as if we work hand in hand with God. All because in the Bible, there was a time that somebody left the church and God got angry. You can't compare those two. That's what I mean. Yeah.
So now let's move into your music, the music you do. So you are a freelance musician. Now we get the understanding Now, what kind of music do you do out there? And what should people expect when you come out there to do your music? What kind of music?
I'm a classical stroke art musician, you know. Of course, the classical is the traditions of the Western music, you know, Mozart, Handel, Tchaikovsky, and all those. And then the art music stands in for the general art music. You know, I do Ghanaian art music as well. Works from Dr. Fremamu, J. Chinketia. Of course, hymns are also part of art music, and even the danceables I do. So they were all by Krasata. They are all art music compositions, you know. So I do all those danceables as well, and once in a while I may do some country or something, but my main area is the classical and the art music. So when you call me, that is what you expect me to do, not to rap.
Fantastic. So, I mean, what functions, or is it open to any?
All functions. I always say that a good musician will be able to work everywhere. So me, even if you place me at the mosque, I'll be able to work. But if all functions doesn't also mean all functions. But I mean every function, weddings, corporate programs. I do more corporate programs, weddings, funerals, naming ceremonies, everyone.
So doing this, I mean, when you go about doing this, what has been your greatest challenge, or what challenges do you face?
Okay, at first, you know, one thing about me is that each and every day I learn something new. And one thing about me is I always make sure I don't repeat same mistake. So when I make a mistake here, I try as much as possible not to repeat the mistake, because as soon as you start repeating mistakes, so the challenges have always been new challenges. At first the challenge was sound, you know, but now I have my sound. You understand? I have my sound equipment and all that. So the only challenge will be that it will be like the space in which I'm coming. I may not be allowed to bring in my sound equipment. I have to work with the sound engineer. You know, it's only in music that time people force us to compromise and work with anybody at all. Very, very unfortunate, because the person speaking doesn't allow himself to work with others. But so music is collaboration, working with others. But when you are working with people who are also not ready to work with you, it becomes difficult. So when I have to go and work with some equipment I don't know, you know, when I have to go, then it becomes a burden to me, because my sound output is very, very important to me. And one of the challenges is the time of Ghanaians. I don't joke with my time. I'm very time conscious. So when you give me 6 o'clock, trust me, you see me there. I quite remember my mother-in-law once told me that your time can't do. And the way our time she can't be brony grandma. She tells me it's a brony time grandma, and I'm telling you brony time grandma, because when she asks me maybe what time are you leaving the house, I'll tell her 11. But by 10:30, I'm in the car leaving the house. So she'll be like, Obi also back 11, 30 minutes before. So I don't joke with my time. So if you take me as one of those Ghanaians that joke with their time, and you know the function starts at 11, and intentionally tell me 9, I'll be there at 9. You see, when it's 11. So if you don't take care, I will leave. So I don't joke with my time. So when you give me time, I expect you to go according to the time. And of course, people will be late. Some will be late. At times it may not be the fault of the clients. Maybe he has given his guests 7 o'clock, but the guest decided to come at 9, 10. And as human as we are, at times you have to go exactly. So that is the challenge for now, you know. And I think apart from that, at first I had challenges like you go to places and the people will be like, now to be in Tulumba, me, because at that time I wasn't known. Oh yeah. I mean, even when Kofi Kinata's music came in, people were like, Natui Kakrama, things fall apart. But now I am known, and they know that this is the kind of music I do. So
have you ever flopped on stage?
With Winneba Youth Choir, yes.
What
1999.
What happened?
Zedok the Priest. I flopped.
What happened?
I just made a mistake. I flopped. And it's something that I will never ever forget. At that time, Guinness sponsored it. You know, at that time, Guinness was sponsoring choral music and all that, you know. And then what happened is that on stage, I don't know, they also forgot. The choir also forgot some lines. And I also forgot some lines, and we And that flopping is always in my mind, because that is the only time I really flopped on stage, you know. The other flops will be like, maybe you are with a group and the choristers may flop somewhere, or maybe your sound may fail you at some point, but flopping is something that I've always decided to. So when I was young, when after a certain time and I improved, I was always telling God that I want to meet Winnie Bayitwa again. I want to meet Winnie Bayitwa again. I want.
Have you gotten the opportunity?
Oh no, but today they have met me several times. I mean that as at that time when it happened, I had to come home and do my homework, you know. So I made sure. But flopping is something that I tried to.
But 1999
Yeah.
is quite
A long time,
I mean,
and it's still in my mind. That is one of my that's one of my headaches. So you have to pray for me. I always go back when I make mistakes. I always go back and, you know, I wish I could go back and correct those mistakes. You know, yesterday, for instance, I dreamt about my childhood days. Yesterday, when I was a child, and this. So when I woke up this morning, I was thinking about something that why did I dream backwards? Is it because God wanted me to correct those mistakes there so that it will cover? So I told myself that whenever I dream and I get backwards, I'll try and cover some of my mistakes. You know, yeah, it's quite a long time, 1999, yeah, but that was the only time I flopped on stage. Yeah.
What would you say has been your, I mean, the most beautiful performance you've ever read?
Hey, a lot of beautiful, because each and every time, whenever I'm on stage, I perform as if the next day I'll be no more. I perform as if the next day I'm dying.
So you can't recall the best of the best?
No, because I always try to improve on my performance. Even today's performance has been my best. Yes, because I mean the dynamics involved and the relaxations and all that. I mean, you could compare to the other time, though it was nice, but today's dynamics and all that, to me, is quite different, you know. And so it's something that I would want to improve it each and every time. So I don't recall my most beautiful moment.
Then I also want to know I mean, you have been on several platforms. You would want to the best of your knowledge, the people that you have, the most prestigious people. I know you've staged at concerts where you have the president in attendance. I mean, can you give us some of these people, I mean, top-notch personalities you've performed to?
There are so many. There are so many top-notch in Ghana. There are so many. I mean, the King of Ashanti, Sir Samjuna, the President of Ghana, even President Nana Akufo-Addo and ex-President Mahama, ex-President Kufuor, ex-President Rawlings. It's a very tall list, you know. And God said your talent will bring you before kings, and there are better days ahead. There are better days ahead. So yes, it's an achievement, and not to disrespect these top-notch people. I also want to thank them for believing in me. You know, and I always tell myself that you know, as I was growing, I was always bragging with the kind of people I performed for. But now it got to a time I asked myself, will these people also be proud to mention me, that this guy performed for me? You know, I mean, so I mean, there are better days ahead. Sorry, yeah.
For your own personal rehearsals,
I do.
I mean,
yeah.
When I hear your works, I mean, there are a lot of heavy orchestrations in there. I mean, very mind-blowing orchestration. What times do you get to do that?
Oh,
how do you rehearse?
Mostly at dawn.
Okay.
You know, and when the children are not in the house, and I have a special room. I have a special office somewhere I rehearse. Exactly. So because each and every day things are coming. Let me tell you, even these days, big orchestras in advanced countries, they pre-record some other instruments and add to what they are doing on stage. So it is not wrong if you are a performer and you feel that you want to pre-record some other instrument. It is not wrong. We are moving to a digital world, a world of technology. You understand my point? But so I always try to build on my orchestration and also look at the possible technologies I can still use to better my acts. You understand where I'm coming from? Yeah, at times I even use the vocal to sound like the choir. So one person is singing but sounds like the choir. So all those things are there. But I rehearse a lot, because of that. Because of the various programs I go. Apart from the various rehearsal for different programs, I rehearse for my personal growth, and of course my writings and all that. I'm working on it. Yeah.
Dr. Alfred Patrick Addaquay.
Yeah,
it's been a very long talk. But before we go, this is your camera.
Yeah.
I want you to speak to Ghanaians about the music you do, why you think people should embrace this kind of music. I mean, I can see that is an emerging field that is coming up. It is not so popular, but that is what you are holding on to, and it's gaining the ground. So you want to tell us why Ghanaians should embrace it and embrace the brand Adaquay. Why should we come for you?
Okay. Anyway, if you need me, you can contact my manager on 0243. This number is just for programs, okay, and events. So 0243 233 725, 0243 233 725, or 0247 207 009. One thing I'll tell you is that art music or classical music or art music is not only for the old. That wasn't the original plan of the composers, to compose just for the old. It is for everyone to enjoy. And at times you need to explore. That's one thing I want to say. That as much as you buy a lot of clothes to explore, once in a while you want to wear some suit, you want to wear some trousers, at times you want to wear shorts, you want to wear polo t-shirts and all that, just for exploration. It's so in music. At times you don't just listen to a specific music because you like it, but you listen to it because you want to explore and know how the different sounds are like. At times you have a function. Probably you may not love classical art music, but the audience coming are lovers of classical art music. Give it to them, okay? And you must also try and listen to many kinds of music just for your growth. And know that it is part of music. It is not outside the music. And trust me, when you come and explore and listen to Adaquay, you will forever enjoy classical art.
That's Dr. Alfred Patrick Addaquay. It has been a one-on-one chat with him. We've talked about a lot of things. If you want to recap, you can go over this whole video again and again as much as you want it. Thank you very much for sticking and staying. We'll meet another time for another episode. Thank you very much.
Ebusu amayenti esese yedawasi seyeshe wunyuma ewo wiase nyinara yemu